Okay, welcome everybody to an exciting Monday afternoon. Stock markets are crashing right now, but there's always opportunities. And actually, So today we're going to talk about the baby unicorn, a live stream for tomorrow. Actually, I should just change up our little logo at the top corner. We got the little baby unicorn logo. So it's an exciting new format we're introducing, which I think you guys are going to like. It's actually very, timing wise, I think it's actually very good. If you've noticed, some of the best opportunities to get into stocks to build a position is usually when markets have been beaten up, when a lot of these stocks are down. As a lot of our stocks, or a lot of new stocks, they've come down in the last what was it, since February. So it's the last 5-6 months. So that's when you have the opportunities. And some of the biggest risks usually happen when stocks are really high. So as they say, underwriting standards become more lax in bull markets. So it's something to keep in mind. So what we will be talking about is the baby unicorn stock. So first of all, what is the format all about? Really, it's a ground floor opportunity to get in on stocks. Usually, I want to say under $1, but really they're going to be usually under 50 cents. Which they have that 10x upside potential. They got a lot of exciting things going on, but they may be still, they're baby unicorns, so they're kind of maybe still in the egg, or they may have just hatched. So there's maybe not as much of a track record. We don't know that much about them. They're definitely very high risk. There's no question about that. And they're also, usually in most cases, they're unknown. Could they become 10 baggers, 100 baggers? Absolutely. So what is the difference between that and our next super stocks? I just kind of want to clarify. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a quick run through of, what is the next super stock thing all about? How is it that, we've had, a bunch of stocks that are up, 10x to 50x in some cases. I think we've had 7 or 8 so far this year. Of course, things have sold off in the last 5 months, but many of these things are still up. But the underlying philosophy remains the same. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a quick run through of sort of some slides I showed before, old webinar stuff. Talk about some theories. I did add something new. I added one new slide, which I think is extremely important. It's going to be sort of towards the end, so just hang on about 12 minutes. I'm going to get to it. It's an extremely important slide, and that is the one slide. That is the one thing which absolutely separates the next super stocks from stocks that don't quite make it. So I'm going to run through our next super stock criteria, so you kind of see exactly what is the ideal situation we look for in a super stock. But the baby unicorns tomorrow. So we have 3 companies lined up for you tomorrow. They're definitely all under 50 cents, all under 51 cents, I should say. Some of them are very, very cheap. I mean, like really dirt cheap. They have very exciting stories. So here is the format. Here it's going to be kind of fun. So it's going to be the CEOs are going to present. Now, if you want to join, you got to. It's not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on our webinar kind of format. So you got to register. It's free. You just put in with your email. And the reason why you need to register is because during the live stream, we're going to have surveys, we're going to have polling, because the whole idea of this is we want to gain basically get some feedback from the investor audience, because I think one of the mistakes I made in the last February March period was we brought in a couple of companies, and again, as I say, sometimes when the market is super red hot, everything is going. The underwriting standards become more lax, and I took on a few companies which I probably shouldn't have. They were a little bit green. Maybe the CEOs did not tell a story, whatever it is. But I think that if we would have done this type of thing, we would have been able to filter those out, and we would have had a much kind of a tighter program. I think we would have done better. So the idea with the baby unicorns is, again, the CEOs are going to present. They're going to do a slideshow presentation. We're going to have Q&A. You're going to participate in the Q&A, but we're going to do some surveys and some polling. So we're going to get some feedback. So you're going to be able to vote on whether you think the stock has that 10x or more upside, or you think it's a dog. Maybe it's a dog with fleas, even worse. And it's all confidential. So when you do the survey, nobody's we're not going to pop up your name on the screen like this. We're not going to do that type of thing. It's all going to be confidential. So feel free to be 100% honest. If you think the stock is a complete dog with fleas, tell us. Or if you think it's going to be great, let us know, because we're going to have. Now, here's the thing. The thing tomorrow is going to be limited to 300 people during the live stream, if hopefully you can make it. If it goes beyond 300, then you won't be able to get in. So that's the deal. The other thing I should say is with the baby unicorns is it's a one-shot deal. So company goes on, that's it. You may never hear from them again on our program because, maybe we're a good fit. Maybe we're not a good fit for them. Maybe, they're not a good fit. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe if the company is a dog, I don't want to be involved with it, right? So the baby unicorn thing is really, kind of, it's sort of an audition. It's a next super stock audition. And again, companies will go on. It's an opportunity for them to meet with investors, and maybe you will hear from them, or maybe you won't hear from them on our thing. So that's kind of the difference between the next super stock, because the next super stock is a 6-month program. The whole idea is with consistency and all that good stuff. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think here's what I really like about this. Here's the key thing. Let me give you the key takeaway. I think tomorrow, a couple of these stocks, we have 3 stocks. Possibly 4, but maybe 3. We had some reschedulings or whatever going on right now. So I think some of these things have a very, very strong possibility to pop. I mean, I think some of these could run like 50%. I'm looking right now, or actually I looked earlier. So again, we're not going to pre-announce these company names. Nobody's going to, so it's not like, there's no press releases going out, Wall Street Reporter or Octagon engaged. Right? None of that is going on right now. So nobody knows about this, but during the live stream, I think I have a very strong feeling that some of these could pop. Kind of the way we've had, when we introduced the next super stocks, where we've had stocks, double or triple within sometimes stocks doubled in a few hours as soon as we announced it, like FCO. I think that stock doubled the morning we announced it. Literally, the stock went from, 6 cents or was it 12 cents? It went crazy. Well, I forgot what the stock was, but basically doubled. Or what's the other one? Liquid Avatar, formerly Cabin, that tripled in 3 days. We've had a bunch of others. I'll kind of walk through it. But okay, so let me just go through this real quick. I just want to kind of run through this. What is the next super stock program about? What do we look for? First, I'm going to show you. For anybody that's new, if you guys have seen this before, ignore it. If you're brand new, this is kind of shows you a little bit of the track record, so you could kind of see, does this investment philosophy work? Now, again, I do also want to clarify. There's a difference between the next super stocks and companies we've had, which are tagged under the Investors Discovery Day. So again, the Investors Discovery Day is, again, those are companies which we feature, on a program. But they don't quite meet a lot of, all the criteria of a super stock. They might be missing a couple things, but they're still exciting, and they can go on to be. So there's some subtleties. If you have any questions, I'll do some Q&A after I go through this. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, because sometimes I understand my thing is I'm not 100% articulate. So bear with me. Okay, so some success cases we've had. Again, Cytodyne, one of our early winners, it went up 20x from 50 cents to $10 in about a year. CloudMD was up a 5x in a few months. CBDT, best winner we've had so far. Introduced at a nickel, went to 250. Incidentally, it started off as a Discovery Day stock, so we weren't quite sure about it when they showed up on the program. So it goes to show you, you never know. Yeah, so that was up 50x. So if you put 5 grand into the stock, you would have had 250 grand in 4 months. 4 months. Imagine AR. I think a lot of people don't remember that one here, but that was last year, literally a year ago, up 1,700%. Next Tech, of course, up 1,300%. Red Light Holland, I think this is an older chart because this went up to, what are we showing here? We're showing here, yeah, I think this went up to 70 cents, right? So it actually did better, but it went from, what is it, 13 cents to 50 cents in like a week. So, and look, and this basically goes to show you how much these things can pop. Logic here is one that this is an outdated chart. This one had a big run. It went to $14. It crashed down. I think it's bottomed out here. We're going to be talking about that one. Fans, of course, it was a 10 bagger. Introduced at 22 cents, went to over $2. I think at 2 and change. Peak, of course, everybody knows Peak right now. This is an old slide, so Peak, what did we hit, $3 a couple months ago? I think we're going to be back at over $3 again. Of course, Visby, ESE, actually I think was a 14 or 12 bagger. And here is the best slide. Okay, so this is what we call our daily doubles. So use a stock a lot of times, or on the next super stock platform, we've had massive increases. And I think we could see something very similar happen with the baby unicorns, because a lot of these baby unicorns are really cheap, and it's like, there's very low liquidity. Again, super high risk, very, very risky. Do not buy these stocks unless you can afford to lose all your money. I would say that any stock. So, of course, we got Red Light Holland. Again, as the data is wrong, it was 13 cents. So it went from 13 to 25 in 4 days, so doubled in 4 days. Cabin tripled in 2 days. FCO basically doubled in 1 day. So, okay, let's get to the important part here. The criteria. Okay, here is extremely important. So, what do we look for in the next super stock? Okay, and I'll talk about the baby unicorns versus this, but here's what we look for. 1, companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar opportunities, so massive addressable markets. 2, there have to be at a key inflection point, so they're right at that moment where they may have done a lot of R&D, or they may have been in development for a long time, and getting some contracts or whatever, and now all of a sudden they hit this inflection point and things are starting to really, really scale up very quickly, or they're about to launch a major new product, or just launched. But basically, the inflection point, what does it really mean? It means that's the point where sales are going to explode, or in the case of, let's say, a biotech or a mining stock, where there's going to be either major data from a trial or from a discovery, which is going to impact the value of the stock. Maybe they're going to start drilling programs, or clinical trials, etc. Multiple catalysts. I'm going to talk about this more, but the catalyst, there's got to be multiple things which can really make the stock explode. So either, again, it's those new products, it's let's say drill program, or clinical trials, new product announcements, any type of news flow, news pipeline, which could have a serious impact on the stock, or any type of events coming up within 30 to 90 days. Extremely important, and this is very, very rare, is the CEO that gets it, when it comes to, maximizing shareholder value. Somebody who really knows how to promote a stock, I'll be honest with you, which means they know how to present well, they understand the importance of consistency with news flow, they understand how to make, acquisitions, how to, really pivot when things. Listen, a lot of times these are all emerging growth companies. I would say with emerging growth companies, like any small business, It's what did they say about war? I think there was no strategy survives the first engagement, or no whatever. So no plan of action survives the first. You may have great plans, or like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. What do you do when you get punched in the face? This is what separates the super stocks from the deadbeat stocks. And look, if a guy's really good, a CEO is a superstar, he's going to pivot to either they're going to go into new business, they're going to make acquisitions, they're going to do something to get market attention and to get that stock moving. Or in the case of I don't know, let's say resource stocks, they might try a different drill program or what have you. So this thing is extremely important. And also at the end of the day is it's the market visibility. I think the CEOs that do well are the guys who understand that it is important to engage with investors, especially the retail investors. The idea that some companies, we've had companies that came on, they built a very strong retail following. All of a sudden, they say, oh, we're gonna only go after institutions, and big mistake. These days, it's the retail audience, the engagement with the retail audience that creates those viral stocks. Look, you got to just look at these Wall Street bet stocks like was it GameStop, AMC, what have you, where the retail engagement is what creates that frenzy. Number 5, which is very important, I want a stock which is undervalued compared to its peer group. So there's going to be a margin of safety. So for example, if the peer group is trading at 10x revenues, I want a stock that's trading at 3x or 5x revenues, or even 1x, which we have. For example, Peak is one of those. Logic is like that. We've had others. So I want to have those things which are really, you have that, which by the way is also a catalyst, because at some point that valuation gap will close. Number 6 is, I'm looking for things which have, ideally this helps if they're part of a big theme or trend. For example, when we've had psychedelics, which has been kind of, it was hot and it's cooled off, hot, runs hot and cold, but that is a big theme. E-commerce, that's a theme. We had the COVID stocks last year, digital transformation, that type of thing. There's always a new theme. So we want to it helps if a stock is part of a theme. It really does. The one thing I don't have there is I look for a good chart. I don't have it here because it's something that's subjective, but to me that's very important. The next super stocks, for a company to be considered a next super stock, the chart has to be in a real good entry point. So I like some things which could be like a double bottom, or any kind of chart formation where you have a lot of upside, where it's been de-risked. So that is, I don't have it here again because that is one of those subjective type things. So why is this strategy so effective? Because look, at the end of the day, we're playing for big stakes, and it's an asymmetrical bet. So you're risking $1 to make $10 to $100. We're not going after 30% gains, 50% gains, or doubling. If you're just trying to go for a stock that just doubles, it's a losing proposition, because most of these things become worthless at some point, right? So you want things which have that built-in potential to be a 10-bagger, because the real money you're going to make, the real wealth is created from stocks that go up 10x, 20x, 50x, that type of thing. You can go waves. So those are the things we look for. So for next super stock, I'm looking for stocks which have that 10x to 100x realistic upside. I know it sounds crazy. Some people say, oh, it's promotion, it's a pump and dump. Oh, this guy is full of hype. No, these stocks, I look for stocks which have that 10x upside. And look, you've seen it. I just showed you some charts which show that it can happen. You can have that 10x. So far, I've not had 100x. This is going to be the thing I'm looking forward to. We've had a 50x. I'm looking for the 100x. And again, I'm looking for that clear runway so that for a company to be considered a next super stock, it's got to have a real runway to be a 3x or 5x pretty quickly. Like within 3 months, it should easily be a 3x, maybe 500% winner. Because if it's working, you're going to have those type of gains. Here is something to kind of show you. This is basically kind of what Peter Thiel, the billionaire. This is the guy who was the co-founder of PayPal, investor in Facebook. This is the guy that has that turned a Roth account, which is like, for the Canadians that don't know, it's like a tax-free savings account, from $2,000. I think in 1999 he started with $2,000. He turned it. I think he's got like 2 billion or 5 billion. That just somebody leaked his tax returns, but basically he's got like a couple $1 billion sitting in his tax-free retirement account, because I guess he dumped shares of whatever those stocks were at 0.01 whatever. What is the concept? The concept is the way to really make the big bucks is to get those 10 baggers, 20 baggers, 50 baggers, because those stocks, you need just 2 of them out of a portfolio of, let's say, a dozen or 10, and they're going to completely pay back the full portfolio. Because if you're trading high-risk stocks, you have 10 stocks, 5 of them are going to probably go nowhere, maybe duds, or 4 of them will go nowhere. At least 2 of them will go to zero, and 1 or 2 are going to have that 10x, 20x. And again, same thing we're looking for. So what's the secret formula? What makes, how have we been able to have so many of these big winners? Sure, we've had some dogs. And by the way, the idea is with the next super stock program that I expect that there's going to be, again, that distribution where we're going to have in a group of 10, we're going to have at least 1 or 2 stocks that are going to go to zero, and 1 to 3 that are going to be over 10x, another 3 that are going to be maybe doubles, triples, what have you. Maybe a few will go nowhere, but for sure, when you're dealing with these high risks, some are going to go to zero. So, but why have you seen this high consistency? We've had so many of these winners. I don't think we've had any stock that went straight down after we introduced it. I know it sounds crazy, but I know it's not something to brag about, but most IR firms or whatever, promoters, what have you, whatever it is, 90% of the stocks that they introduce basically go straight down. We have had in the last few months a couple of stocks that are in pretty rough shape, or have had rough shape. And by the way, I did the ones I think everybody knows the stock, or 1 or 2 stocks I'm talking about, and I did warn you beforehand about cryptocurrencies, etc. I said, hey, this is super speculative, but if you like crypto, this is it. So, but that's what happens with these stocks. So what's the secret formula? Number 1, we take a stock which has that great, massive upside potential. They have that great story, and you amplify that. We amplify that by giving them, massively increased investor awareness globally. So right now you have that great story, maybe nobody knows about it, so the stock is unknown, so it's basically undervalued. But when we amplify, when Wall Street Reporter amplifies that story to hundreds of thousands of investors over a period of 6 months, millions of investors, and the stock goes viral, all of a sudden you have more buyers. So more buyers than sellers equals increased demand for the stock and closing the valuation gap. Because in the world of these kind of penny stocks, the biggest risk that these companies really have is to be unknown. Because if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, nothing happens. So you have a lot of these stocks that they have stories, but they don't get the word out, and they kind of become zombie stocks. A company in the microcap space, there's no institutional support in the microcap world, right? So if you have a 25-cent stock, and they're not doing any promotion or effective promotion, it's not going to go anywhere unless the company really hits it out of the park and becomes, they get the revenues up, they build on the fundamentals over a period of years, etc., and then they get that. But in the reality, unless they have market support, unless they're doing market promotion, they're not going to go anywhere. So it's very, very important. So basically, when a company you see on the next super stock platform on Wall Street Reporter, the zombie risk has been eliminated. So it's been de-risked to some degree. So at least you know that you're getting a fair shake, that the company is at least going to get exposure to investors. So again, we're looking for that asymmetric setup. This is the key thing. So I'm looking for something which has at least a 10x plus upside. So again, it's $1 stock, which can go to $10. Worst case, it might drop, 50%, possible. Or it could go to zero. I mean, it's very possible that stock can go to zero. But most times, if when we introduce a company, within the first, few months, if it doesn't at least double, or at least it's not up significantly, it's probably, if the stock drops more than 50% in the first 60 days, 90 days, it's usually a sign that it's not going to go anywhere. So, I would say 50% is a cutoff point. So again, you have that asymmetrical setup. The risk is limited. You have the built-in edge because you have that market support program. So here is the key important slide I want to talk about. This is the number one slide. This 10x success, it leaves clues. If you look at any of the stocks we've had, which have had that massive win, that are up 10x, 20x, 50x, they all had a couple things in common, at least during the period of that big, when they increased that 10x plus. So what do they all have in common? There's two things which are related. It's two sides of the same coin. You have the momentum and velocity and news flow. Okay, so there is I've never seen a super stock, anything that became a 10-bagger without consistent news flow, momentum, velocity. Okay, so what do I mean by momentum and velocity? It's a very, very important distinction. Every company, every stock, or anything, there's usually a window. They have a very tight window in which to, hit it out of the park. Look, it's like a lifespan. It's like a lifespan. The average, a human being lives to whatever, 80 years. But you only have a couple of years, whatever, to really hit it out of the park, right? Because everything is different. Your 20s are different than your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. It's a different age. You can't do in your 70s what you could do in your 20s, right? So same thing with companies. A company is just like a human being. So they got a very tight window where I would say it's about 6 months. Where it's a little bit long, but really, look, when a company debuts, when they come onto the microcap scene, whether it was a small IPO or a reverse merger or what have you, and then they start getting the word out. So from the time a company kind of launches, in terms of promotion or debut on our program or what have you, they got a tight window where they really got to have massive momentum in about 6 months to create a lot of excitement and to really kind of go viral in the investor world. If they don't do that within that 6 month period, it's probably never going to happen. I think that's really the way it works. So what does it mean? So two things. So here's what they got to have in this period. Either they got to have revenues. There's got to be an indication that revenues are going to explode. They're going to double, triple, what have you. So you have those 2 quarters where you have financials. You see massive wins. You have contracts, whatever it is, whatever you have. that shows that a company can really go places, right? So you have contract news, new developments, M&A activity, what have you. There's really that tight window, especially for companies, for microcaps, if they don't have, if they don't have a lot of capital, right? So, if they don't get that momentum right away, they're going to run out of cash. They're going to run out of runway. They're going to, it's like a plane. If it's going to run out of fuel, and you don't have altitude, if it's low to the ground, it's kind of done, right? So they gotta really understand the momentum. It's interesting because when we had Bruce Linton on a couple of months ago talking about, I think he was on with Red Light Holland, and again, Bruce is kind of like the master of market promotion, creating shareholder value. He articulated this point. That was one of the things he said. Hey, this is what it takes. This is what we look for. This is so it is extremely important. So news flow, for a stock to be a 10 bagger, they gotta have 3-4 news releases each month. So that's one a week, consistently. And you want to see like this cadence. You want to see a momentum. You want to see signs of growth, and most importantly, what I call CEO follow-up. So, our whole program really revolves around getting the CEO in front of investors to tell their story. Because we don't, as much as people say, we're not stock promoters. All we do is get a CEO in front of the right audience, and we try to find the right companies, obviously, but we try to get the CEO in front of the right audience, and then it goes from there organically. So, but if a CEO doesn't show up on a consistent basis, that every 2 weeks, it's very difficult to build momentum. If you've noticed, all the big winners we've had, they all did this. During the period that you saw the stocks running, you had that level of news flow where they were pumping out a news release each week. You had the CEO on our program every 2 weeks. And, whether it was Cytodyne, whether it was Nextech, Fans, Unite, any of these stocks, you got to have that momentum and velocity. If a company is only putting out one news release a month or like one every 2 weeks, that's not enough to get investors excited. At the end of the day, this is, this part of the thing, the stocks that become 10 baggers in the microcap world, part of it is fundamentals. They got to have, obviously some fundamentals. But number two is they really, it's a question of sentiment, investor sentiment, and you gotta create positive investor sentiment. For a stock to go viral, you gotta have the news flow. So if a company doesn't have that consistent news flow, it's just not gonna work. So the difference between the baby unicorns and the next super stock is this. With the next super stock, we have a very strong, visibility into news flow. Either we've seen already that these guys are actually delivering, or we see that there's a pipeline. It's something which we really believe it's going to happen. With a baby unicorn stock, we don't know if they're going to have news flow. We don't know if they're going to show up again. We don't know anything. We know that right now they have a good story, but what's going to happen? I don't know. It's like a baby unicorn. We don't know if it's going to live to be a full-size unicorn, or it's an egg basically. I shouldn't even call it baby unicorns. I should call it the unicorn eggs, because really these are like hatchlings. These are like eggs, baby unicorn eggs, and we're basically betting on what's going to hatch. So again, with the baby unicorns, we don't. Hopefully, if they have that news flow, if they have the momentum, velocity, they'll become 10 baggers. Here's a fun slide I want to have here for you. This kind of shows you, the reality of all these stocks that have been 10 baggers, 50 baggers. I copied this. I saw this on Twitter. So whoever did this, I give him full credit. Like HODL, the HODL, whatever. So everybody thinks is a straight line, to the moon, right? To the moon. But in reality, if you look up close, it's peaks and valleys, and you have lakes, pits, rains, and then you get to the moon. So it's a long way to the top. So here's some rules. Get in early. Do not chase these stocks. Do not chase them. I know, when people on our Discord channel, I see people who say, "Oh, I'm losing money." The guys who are losing money, usually the guys who got into a stock like 3 months after we started working with them. So the stock started off at 20 cents. Now it's 70 cents or $1. They buy it at $1, then it drops 50%, which is what's going to do on the way to the 10 bag. So, you gotta get in early, do your own research. Don't believe what we say, do your due diligence, as they say. Manage your risk. The biggest winners are the ones that you really least expect, and know when to cut losses and cash in. So again, sometimes you got to hold on to these things. But when a stock starts to really go crazy, you want to pull your principal out. So look, if something starts to run, it triples, it quadruples, it's up 5x, sell your original, whatever your thing, get your principal, your original investment out, and then let it ride, right? One comment on this allocation is capital allocation. I've done a webinar before where we talked about parlaying these things, parlaying winners, where you can turn, basically $1,000 into $1 million in a year. Can it be done? 100%. We have a guy who did that. He did it with $2,000 basically, which is of course the infamous Calvin Ting. And how it works is very simple. Let's say you start with $1,000. I'm going to use that as an example. I'm not saying I'm saying you really need 10 grand, and this is super high risk. I do not recommend this. It's basically like a Russian roulette. But yes, in theory, if you start with $1,000, you put it into one of these stocks, it becomes a 10 bagger. Now you have 10 grand. Get into the second winner, that's a 10 bagger. Now you have 100 grand, and then you need just one more, and that becomes $1 million. So if you have 3 parlays in a row, you can have it could work out sometimes differently. Sometimes the stock can go to 20x, 50x. There's variations on it. Calvin actually did it, so it's pretty interesting. And let me just, there we go. Okay, so let me see if there's any questions. I will answer some questions. Again, make sure you click the link in the video description below to join the Baby Unicorn Stock live stream. It is, I have a good chance we'll see some very exciting companies. Actually, I know 100% that we have very exciting companies. What I was going to say is I'm pretty sure that a couple of these are going to move big time within a few days. High risk, of course. So we're in a slow summer. Before I have to admit, a few weeks ago I said, hey, we're gonna have a penny stock explosion this summer, and I am wrong. I'm dead wrong. I think I think this probably should have taken a vacation. Yeah, because this is gonna be it looks like the summer is gonna be pretty rough. We're definitely seeing a lot of stocks getting beaten up. The overall market is crashing right now. I think we have a pretty good chance of a nice market sell-off. I did put out a message on our Telegram channel, or I think on Discord also, a couple of days ago, that the Russell broke the 50-day moving average, and it was looking very bearish, likely to collapse. I don't say collapse, but high probability of selling off. I don't like to use those words like crash, because I don't want to be one of those doomsday people. I don't like that. It's too, these perma bears. That's not my thing. But definitely, the markets look pretty rough right now. So the idea is you want to get into stocks. Ideally, I would not be buying a stock unless their chart was like a flat line or it's like a double bottom. Okay, so let me answer some questions. No, Iconic has not been a Wall Street Reporter stock since like, I don't know, 6 months, since like January. By the way, on our Discord channel, join our Discord channel. The link, it's not in the video description. It's in one of our other video descriptions. Join our Discord, because then, and actually there right now, I have an updated list, because we've had a couple of stocks that have dropped off the next super stock or discovery day program. I don't like to really announce it when something expires, because I don't want people to think that, hey, just because a company is not on our platform, it means it's no good or there's something wrong. It's not the case. There's multiple reasons why a company chooses not to continue with us, or we choose not to continue, mutual or whatever, multiple reasons. Okay, so sometimes a company is, let's say, okay, in this case of Skylight, they want a NASDAQ, they have a board which wants to we want to do institutional, so they don't want to do this thing. CloudMD, same type of situation, then you have things where just whatever, I don't know what the reason is, and it's their prerogative, right? Or sometimes, we're not able to deliver results, or we're not able to deliver the results that, was mutually expected, right? So VST, a perfect example. So VST is no longer a client. I think the stock popped originally, but when we brought them on, I think they raised a bunch of money with this, what's that, whatever it was, the Game On, whatever. I don't know. They're basically off the platform, or at least I haven't heard from them, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe, but their program is expired, so I haven't heard back. Red Light Holland also is no longer on our platform. So yes, we've had a couple of people who have dropped off in the last few months. I'll give you a quick update. So Red Light Holland expired, is not renewed. Victory Square. Who else? Graph Blockchain last month. We have Relay, I think, is expired. We had who else is there? Skylight last month. A couple of others, which is, I think it's actually okay, because what I'd like to really do is I'd like to kind of trim down. I think we had a little bit too many companies on our platform in February, March. It was a little bit too much, and we took on some companies which probably shouldn't have taken on. So okay. So bets, which I have big expectations for. This one is they're still halted till this merger goes through. So it's an Indian company that they're merging, buying, whatever, and it's just dragging on. So hopefully by next month. This is taking a long time. Well, I don't know. I mean, it might be good that the stock is halted maybe right now, because everything is getting beaten up. But I'm not a fan of it. I mean, to have a stock halted, and then all the drama with the CEO that went on. I mean, it was ridiculous. I've never had that happen before. I've never had that type of crazy situation happen. So I apologize, on behalf of, I apologize basically, because it's embarrassing for me to have a stock where, first of all, I don't like these things which get a hold of for a merger for a couple of months, because it kills the velocity of things. And then to have it with the CEO nonsense, the drama with it's crazy. So that is not good. Good question. Okay, so the baby unicorns. No, there is no updates. It's basically it's a one-shot deal. It's a one-shot deal. Where they go on, they present their story, unless maybe if they get a very high level of engagement, they might come onto our platform. It has to be mutual. I mean, we gotta see that there's a level of engagement, and of course, obviously, the company has to want to sign on. Maybe they may not. I don't know. I don't know what goes through people's minds, but But basically, when the company is on the baby unicorns, at the time that they show up, as far as we know and they know, it's a one-shot deal. Yeah, graph blockchain. So here's an example of a losing stock. So I said, hey, this is funny because months before I was really expecting us to have more losing stocks, because usually when you're getting these big wins, you're also obviously there's high risk, so you're going to have more losers, right? But up until graph blockchain, we did not have any losers, and this thing just fell out of bed. Now, I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at the stock. It might be getting cheap here. I don't know. But I think the big problem with the graph was, they basically didn't have no news flow, okay. Oh my God, we got the Calvin Ting. Calvin Ting. Is Calvin in graph blockchain? I think actually, does he still own it is the question. Wow. So yeah. Well, here's the other thing, by the way. Just companies at the end of the day, the market. I think for the future. Also, I should say, for the next super stocks, I just want to have a handful of companies. We're going to focus on a handful of companies. No more of having 20 companies, whatever. And I want to get into them at 20 million, 50 million market cap, not more than that. Ideally 20 million market cap. And, we want to get out of them by the time that they're 300 million market cap. I think in the Canadian world, for whatever reason, I'm dealing with a lot of Canadian stocks. U.S. trading, but mostly Canadian. And so it seems to be like 300 million is like a magic number in Canada. So by the time, it's very hard for a Canadian stock to break out of that 300 million valuation. That seems to be like, once they get to that number, then it becomes like a, that's it basically. And then they just, they kind of, that's it. It's very hard for them to break out of there. Maybe 500 million, very difficult. So I should say, with the next super stock, our goal is not, we want to get into these things at a 20 million market cap, get out of them at, 300 million. And again, when a company is at 300 million, it's the odds of it going to 10x from there is very, very small. So, so we're definitely by September we're going to trim down. So any companies we have in our little group that are above that high market cap, we got to kick them out of the nest. I mean, it's enough, because they're not going to be at 10x from there. I mean, they might, but very, very small odds. I just want to get things where there's a lot of action very quickly. I don't want to wait 5 years. So let's see here. Patience is key. Yes, 100%. I really, that's why I do the chart chat live streams, where I talk about the charts. That's the idea. So next super stocks, I usually look for double bottoms. I usually look for things which have a really good entry point. I don't want like stocks which are, have made a crazy run and then, think that they're going to go higher from there. If they already went parabolic, they're not going to go parabolic from there. So let's see here. Okay, so it's an interesting. I think September could be. I think it's very possible. Look, the biggest profits you'll make is usually after a market collapse. Usually, when stocks have been beaten up, you can make money on that upside. So if things really get rough right now in the next month, September could be a great entry point. If you look at last year, Cytodyne, not Cytodyne, it was actually Nextech and Imagine AR. The time to have gotten into those stocks was right in May of last year, early May, mid-April, May, because it was at that time that they really were at their bottom after that market crash, that Corona market crash. I mean, those things were down 75%. Who do we have? We're going to have a couple of good stocks this week. Let's see. I am hoping something happens with bets as well. Yeah, it could be for the moment. It's going the wrong way. Look, I think I don't want to. I think it's the. It was really things were. I thought it was going to make a new high last month, right before the stock had such great momentum. Right before that financing, the financing really derailed it. So, but hey, fundamentally the picture is better. So it's just going to take much longer for the stock to get back to $2. It might take, I think it got thrown off by 3 months, basically 2-3 months, pushed back because of that financing. Let me see. I think one of them has I think all of them actually do have a listing in Frankfurt. I'm pretty sure. I know one of them for sure has. I'm not a big fan of averaging down because, sometimes if a stock is a loser, odds are it's gonna go lower. I don't know. I'm not a believer, but everybody, it's a different. It's things that work. Everybody has their own way of thinking. There's no right way or wrong way. I just, let's see here. Fundamental analyze. Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what. When it comes as a value investor, none of these stocks are value investor stocks. Really, they're really not. They're not classic, Warren Buffett value stocks. In order to be a real value stock, you got to have big earnings. You got to have earnings. You got to have a history of earnings, or you got to have massive assets. And that's when you have real value. So when people talk, in the microcap world, you don't have that. So I don't want anybody to think that these are value stocks. They're not. They're pure speculations. Even if a company has, revenues, earnings, whatever, these are very highly sentiment driven. It's most of what moves these stocks really is the sentiment. It's really, you can't really get the fundamentals. Yeah, they got some fundamentals, and hopefully things work out. But it's again, it's more of a sentiment-driven thing. Microcaps are closer to Bitcoin than they are to Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, so to do when people talk about do deep due diligence or deep dive, there's nothing to really get that. What are you going to look at? I mean, there's really not that much there besides what you see. You're not going to get that deep with these things. It's pretty much what you see is what you get. When it comes to the microcaps, it's a question of what's the potential? How do they get there? So that's the thing. And that's speculation. Is there any Wall Street Report stock that is green today? Let me see. Yes, two. FCO is up 23%. Wow. Holy shit. FCO, 16 cents now. 1.5 million shares traded. Peak FinTech is up 3% on 1 million shares of volume. And everything else is down. So you have, yeah. Oh my God, this guy's 70 stocks. How do you keep track? Wow. Wow. Let's see. Okay. Listen, I think VST has some good. They have some good fundamentals in there. There's no question. I don't know why the stock was not able to move. To be honest, I don't know. It's a little bit surprising. Why it has not been able to really gain traction. So I mean, actually, I have a reason. I think actually, well, I can see there's a couple things they could have done which would have gotten them better results. It's more of a cosmetic thing. It's nothing to do with the fundamentals, but from the IR perspective, I think there's a couple things they could do or could have done. But yeah, listen, there's a lot of these stocks have. Look, Tetra Biopharma. I mean, Tetra is a stock that should be 250 right now based on fundamentals, right? Based on what other peers in the companies which have phase two trials, multiple phase 2 trials with big markets. Yeah, the stock should be 250. And but to get into the too much fundamental, I mean, there's not a lot of deep value. Actually, maybe VST might have some deep value, but it's a very different type of thing. But the bottom line is this. Bottom line is tomorrow we will have the baby unicorn stocks. Click the link in the video description below. The baby unicorn stocks live stream is tomorrow. I am very certain that let me take a look at the symbols here. And by the way, none of these stocks have moved, so the word has not leaked as people sometimes believe. Let me see. Is anything moving? One of these things looks like it might be a little bit of a fluke, a very low volume. So yeah. So the good news is, this is not one of those things where it's been leaked out, and there's they've already moved. No. So tomorrow, join the live stream. And I think you're going to be very, very impressed. I think you'll be very happy with the results tomorrow. Again, these are very high risk stocks. Do not even look at these stocks unless you are willing to lose all your money. There again, it's all high risk. This is the thing up on the screen is exactly what this is all about. So again, tomorrow 12:30, 3 companies are presenting. It'll be very exciting. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for joining.